I apologize for the delay. It shan't be another minute. We're just getting one of our board members logged in to, if we can't log in, it's hard to vote and hard to do things. It's amazing how dependent we are on technology. And as it was just said, if we didn't have technology, we'd all have more hair. Do we believe that? Yes. I'm just saying, if we didn't have technology, we'd all have more hair because we're not pulling ourselves apart. Let's do this. We'll go ahead and get the meeting started. I don't want to delay anybody because you all have other things to do as well. We can get by with the first couple of items without Mrs. Doan logged in while her computer boots up. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll go ahead and I'll call the meeting to order with the famous Thor hammer. And we'll start with our opening exercises. If you'll join me for a moment of silence, about 30 seconds to kind of gather our thoughts. And then Mr. Savoy has offered to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance then.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Savoy. I'd like to go ahead and excuse Mrs. Pangarelli. She is out tonight, will not be joining us, but we have quorum with 4 of us, so we can move ahead as normal. We'll move on to our item number 4 is our staff recognitions, and Mrs. Dunsey, good to see you again.
Thank you. Good evening, President Bullock and members of the board, Dr. Stifler. Unfortunately, this evening we were going to recognize 2 students who are members of the City of Peoria Youth Council who serve as youth liaisons, but unfortunately we found out very late yesterday that one of them had a work commitment she was unable to get out of, and the second student became ill today. So we will be rescheduling that recognition for them in October, and we look forward to having them come back in front of you then.
Now, were those 2 the students that were featured in the Pulse, our newsletter?
Correct.
That comes out in our Thursday report. Okay, so they're all their pictures. They're shaking hands with Mayor Carlat, which was neat to see.
Yes.
And had a little overview of what they did. So that's available in our Pulse newsletter that comes out every month. So.
Great, thank you.
Dr. Stifler, you have some items for us tonight, sir.
Wait, if I turn that on, that's better. I do, sir. Thank you. President Bullock, members of the board, a few things I'd like to be able to recognize across the district. On August 30th, Cactus High School hosted the Arizona Association of Student Councils Leadership Conference for the West Region. About 1,400 students came on campus. I'm going to tell you that it is absolutely electric to have 1,400 student leaders all jazzed up in the auditorium in the gym at the same time. They had a Saddle Up for Leadership theme and gathered to receive leadership training, resources, and have an opportunity to network with other student council leaders in the West Valley. It was powerful. Well done. For the past 7 years, the Arizona Cardinals and Walmart have partnered together through the Neighborhood Heroes program. This year, they dedicated a new field to Centennial High School. Centennial held a ribbon cutting ceremony during their first home game on Friday, August 26th, and took home the win against Apollo High School, and I got to be there and help cut that ribbon. Many schools across our district will be remembering our heroes this Friday with 9/11 events and assemblies ranging from a walk of honor at Desert Harbor to the Heroes Luncheon at Frontier to a flag ceremony and presentation of the colors at Peoria High School. Congratulations to Ely Williams from Centennial High School as he was awarded the Peoria Rotary Student of the Month. And thank you to the Peoria Fire Department for visiting Desert Harbor Elementary School this week to teach kids about fire safety. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Stifler. You know what's neat to see is how much, and I know and you and I have talked about this, how exciting it is, and you've already voiced your excitement for how integrated the Peoria community is with the school district, from our, the police department, the fire department, and Glendale as well, because obviously we branch over into Glendale, but how excited and how integrated everybody is in this gem of Peoria that is PUSD. It's neat to see, isn't it?
It is great to see. This afternoon I got to attend or participate. Actually, I was on the agenda for Chief Mintner's UCAN. All the people that are there and all the people that step up to say, I went to Peoria, my kids went to Peoria, this is great about Peoria. You don't even have to make them say it. They all volunteer to say that. It is very powerful and glad to see.
Good, and it's got to be, and I'm going to use a high school term, it's got to be cool for you to see that.
It is absolutely cool.
Cool, and we're kind of like high school guys now because we both said cool.
Yeah, and I don't think any high school kids are going to convict either of us are being cool. I'm sorry, President Bullock.
That's worth a try. All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to the next item, number 5, board recognitions. I'm going to start to my right. Mr. Jonigan has a few items this evening.
Yes, actually, to piggyback on a couple of the items just mentioned, I did have as well the opportunity to be a part of the Centennial Field dedication on August 26th, and it was a fantastic event, and really appreciated all of that there, seeing Big Red and Mrs. Bidwell and all that. As well, today, got to participate or sit in the UCAN meeting at the Peoria Police Department, and listen to Dr. Stifler do another wonderful, amazing job of spreading the word about Peoria and fielding great questions about the direction that we're going in, and some great stuff there. But more importantly, my day started off doing more school visits, and got to 4 schools today. Started out at Peoria High School, where we spent some time. First of all, Robert Panzer, thank you very much for the schedule today and the time and the guide. It was very much appreciated. I know that was a lot of work to put all that together and coordinate. But we started off at Peoria High School, and today we were looking at arts and cultures theme for school visits. We were looking at art classes, ceramic classes, photo classes, jazz band, choir, theater, the whole gauntlet. We just wanted to see everything and kind of put it all in perspective. Just truly amazed by the kids that we met and the passion that they got from the arts. But more importantly, I took the liberty to ask a few questions, pulled my best Matt Bullock imitation, and overtook the class for a second. But asking the questions about how they can, what they can apply this with, and how they can take this, this great environment and apply it elsewhere. And without prompt, without hesitation, they all went and recognized the arts programs help them become better students. They realize it will help them become better citizens after school. And it was just a great dialogue to have, and just the passion, the emotion, and everything, the conviction came from them was just second to none. So I want to say at Peoria High School, Jeremy Sellum we spent some time with and had a great visit there. Moving on to Kellis High School, again, we met with a few folks there, Allison Seltzer, Nathan Garrison in a jazz band, and also some great stuff there is just listening to a jazz band that was completely improvising at a high school level. It was truly amazing to see these kids. They wanted to play a song for me, and the teacher asked me who would like to solo, and the entire class raised their hand. So it was the longest song I've heard, but it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Again, I think it was Jill Mahoney's class we were in, so great stuff there. We moved on to Ironwood, meeting Monica Garvey and spending time in her class. Tim Ormsby, my goodness, what another jazz class we got to sit in, and different style, but what a great connection he's got with his kids. And another great mentor program he does with the feeder schools into the high school, going there and bringing some of his students to mentor the 8th and 7th graders in band in the elementary schools and get them continued interest in the programs to continue on. I asked his class how long they've on average been playing, and it was 5+ years. So for having a high school class with 5+ years of everyone playing multi-instruments, it's fantastic. Jeff Hutter, the choir, just an amazing choir. If you haven't had the chance to listen to him, just a great time there as well. Wrapping up the day at Heritage Elementary, we saw Tim again at Heritage doing the actual mentorship that he said he was going to do later in the day, and Carrie Milliken's class. Janet Culbertson, we had some time there as well. So thank you to all those teachers for opening their classroom. Thank you for the great day and the amazing kids and just everything that we got to experience today was fantastic. Also, while we were at Raymond S. Kellis, there was a situation there this morning, a very unfavorable student emergency, and while I won't go into the details of that, I just wanted to recognize the staff at Raymond S. Kellis. No one ever likes to see a student injured in a situation, but we arrived immediately after it was done and saw the aftermath, and these administrators jumped into action without thinking, It was one of the proudest moments you can have for a bad situation, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, but it just, to see these administrators jump into action, they had to use many different things to help this child, but everything looks like it's going to be somewhat okay, and it was just a great moment to see everyone in action and be a part of the aftermath and talk to the teachers and some of the students and so forth. So I think that's about it for 1 week. But I appreciate the time, and again, thank you so much for Mr. Panzer for the day, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Doan, we'll work our way back.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Mrs. Connect.
Yes, I've been at Arizona School Boards Association Law Conference, and Ms. Stone was there today, and Dr. Stifler was there today. Yesterday was a pre-conference about school district finance, and while I've seen that presentation several times, I always learn something new. I was really impressed where they were emphasizing our fiduciary responsibility and how important it is, and encouraged us to ask good questions. One of the presenters was our own Mr. Hicks, who has become a renowned expert and celebrity among school districts in Arizona. He's so modest and humble. He hates when I say that, but it's true. And he's entertaining too, so, when he gets with Jeremy Callis. So, yeah, it was great. We talked about, of course, it's a legal conference, so we're talking about legal issues. Yesterday was dedicated to legal pitfalls that you may encounter in media. So that was interesting. Cell phones, and I mean, they can write volumes of books on the cell phones and the law in schools. So very informative and very important information. Today was really dedicated, or at least this morning was dedicated to the long list of federal and state cases that may impact how we run business here, how schools across the country run business, to treat kids fairly and to make sure that we're always observing the letter of the law. So very informative, another day of that. And then I know Mr. Jonigan is coming on Saturday to represent our school district in the delegate assembly. So a busy few days, but very rewarding.
I guess my only question is, you said Mr. Hicks was entertaining, right?
Because
Well, no, that's not my question, but, like, I would love, was there a video of that? Because usually when he stands here, he'll spend the first 5 minutes thanking and recognizing everybody on God's green earth, which we love, because no one's left out. How does that work when he's speaking at a conference?
I'll tell you, he's got a co-presenter who they travel together often, right? And they just rib each other and make everybody laugh.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time because I can. We've known each other long enough, but we always give each other, I love that. I'd love to see you in another public setting, how many people you thank before you start, because you're always very cordial, so thank you, Mr. Hicks. And thanks for letting me rib you, too.
Just make us very proud, thank you.
Good. The only thing I want to bring up is, because we talked a lot about it last time, and if you weren't here at the last meeting, you missed an amazing demonstration of the power and the depth of our CTE program. Dr. Beltram, could you remind us again when the CTE, the career day is coming up? I want to make sure, thank you to our PR department for making a big effort to advertise that, because again, my challenge last time was to double our CTE program in the next 5 years. So when is that again, just so we can get it on record?
Saturday, November 5th,
Okay.
from 9 to 12.
Okay, good. I want to keep bringing that up because, if I'm going to keep being loud and obnoxious about promoting it, I'm going to keep bringing it up until someone takes the gavel and hits me with it. So thank you very much. So in November, please put it on your calendar. Don't be tempted. All right, next item on the agenda is request to address a board regarding matters not included on the agenda. We have one tonight from Mr. Russell McConnell. Mr. McConnell, thank you for being here tonight.
It's Dr. McConnell.
Dr. McConnell, I apologize. I didn't
Not a
say it.
problem.
You know what?
We worked hard to get it, okay?
Yourself to blame because you didn't put doctor on here. Time.
I am here to introduce myself as a candidate for the Peoria School Board. And I just wanted to kind of give some perspective on why I'm here. I've heard John F. Kennedy say a long time ago, I didn't hear, I was too young, but he said, ask not what you can do for your country, but instead ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And so I feel that it's my time in my life to give back. have a full-time job at Banner Health. I teach adjunct at Grand Canyon University, so I have a lot going on. All of my children have graduated from Centennial. They have both athletic and academic scholarships, and they're moving on in their lives, and we have an empty nest. What a beautiful thing, right? So I think it's time for me to step up and at least give something back to the community that's given so much to me. Now, I don't have anything personal to gain by being on this board. I don't think it pays.
It doesn't.
I,
Wanna be
and
clear.
frankly, I don't see a higher office that I could aspire to that has a greater impact on my community than this. But very important, and this is critical, I don't have children in the district anymore. They've gained everything there is and all the good things there is to get from this education. And so in some ways, I think that's an advantage for me because I don't have a conflict of interest. I don't have the potential for a conflict of interest. My children stand to gain nothing from me being on this board. And one of the problems I've seen over the past few years is that people on this board have used this position of power to do some things that are contrary to the interest of all the children in the district. And so they have ulterior motives, and they use that to do things for the good of the children on one hand, but truthfully for some selfish ambitions also of those governors. It's time for us to return to public service that has no ulterior motive involved, nothing to gain, but something just to give, and that's what I want to do. I want to bypass any potential to give a sports team any preference over any other, or any political interest, interest in my particular child's benefit. Instead, what I really want to do is I want to give back to my community. And so, you know, my children played on all the teams and got all the scholarships. What I want now is to see all children benefit from that kind of that hard work. They didn't get any extra benefit from me on the board or the coach or any preferential treatment or anything like that. I think I'm over 3 minutes.
You're pretty close, Ben. I wasn't going to call it on you yet, but we're getting close, sir.
All right. Well, I haven't read word for word because I knew I would go astray. At any rate, I look forward to the opportunity to serve my community, and that's for every kid. You know, for the kids at Kellis, the kids at at Sunrise Valley, at Liberty, the kids who are poor, whose parents can't afford for them to play club sports, to give them a competitive advantage on our elite sports teams. My sons all benefited from it. But there are a lot of kids I know who don't. And they don't because this board has frankly made it very difficult for kids of all areas to be involved in their own taxpayer-funded sports teams. And that comes from experience. It's not an opinion. So I appreciate the opportunity to meet. Appreciate the 4 minutes and 11 extra seconds.
Don't say that because only 3 minutes is all I could give you, sir.
Thank you again.
I was supposed to use a timer. Dr. Stifler, is it appropriate for us to ask Mr. McConnell specifically which board members he thinks,
Hal Borhauer.
which board members you think were benefiting their own children?
I'd say anybody that's running for office their children will benefit strictly by their position of authority on this board. If you have a position on this board and your child is a member of the school, they will benefit for no other reason than the fact that, the people in that school, they know who you are and they know who your child is. And they will benefit from it. Now, does that answer your question?
No, sir.
President Bullock.
Fine. We appreciate it. That's, no more questions on that. So,
I didn't know it was going to be a question and answer.
oh, no,
but
that's
all
we're
I
good.
can say.
All right, no, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
You very much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. All right, next item on the agenda is number 7, address agenda and consider adoption or recommended changes. This is a chance for board members to rearrange the agenda for any specific reason. Anybody? Any rearrangements?
No, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a demonstration on SchoolNet instructional platform. Excited about this. So all these years in the preparation and all this technology. So Ms. Bazinski, thank you for being here tonight.
Pleasure. Good evening, President Bullock, members of the Governing Board, Dr. Stifler, Council, and community. I'm here before you this evening to share with you SchoolNet, our newly adopted integrated instructional management system. SchoolNet provides real-time access to student data, assessment creation, administration and results, lesson planning, curriculum, instructional materials, resources, student workspaces, and assignments. The tools within SchoolNet that are available to teachers, students, administrators, and parents are designed to allow a savings of time so that teachers can focus on activities that can impact student learning. The goal of SchoolNet within the Peoria Unified School District is to help lay the tracks that will take us to a new age of personalized learning. Throughout this presentation, it is our goal that you see and feel how SchoolNet empowers teachers and principals to meet the needs of our students, how the tool is cutting edge, our 2-year implementation plan, the support we will provide to our users so they can learn how to use the system, and what will be coming soon. Within SchoolNet, as our instructional management system, we can gather and evaluate multiple measures of student learning. We can make data-driven decisions and plan instruction. We can develop and share resources district-wide, and we can collaborate across our entire educational community. I would like to share a short video clip with you from a school district in Texas that has also chosen SchoolNet as their management system, to share with you not only the components of the system, but the evidence of its success with a district similar in size and demographics as the Peoria Unified School District.
Northside ISD is the 4th largest school district in Texas, and actually about the 30th largest school district in the nation. When I came to the district, it was a very good district, and they were using data, but it was more at the principal level. We at that time were also beginning to do benchmark testing, and so much data was coming out there that we had to have a way to really use that data, and that principals could use it to make decisions about kids, and teachers could use it to make decisions about kids.
When I first began teaching, everything was paper and pencil. You needed to go to a certain place to get the attendance, you needed to go to a certain individual to get the information for the grades, and you needed to go to a different individual as far as their specific special education needs.
We adopted SchoolNet because it fit our needs. We wanted them to provide us with an open container, if you will, where we could put in our curriculum, our assessments, and they have been able to do that.
SchoolNet is really aimed at providing very, very detailed understanding of student learning and student mastery so that a teacher can really target his or her efforts towards those students that need the most help, but also really targeting the specific skills that those students most need to focus on.
What SchoolNet allows us to do is to have that data right at the teacher's fingertips, quickly, easily accessible, and up to date.
It provides me with their academic record based on prior attendance, prior grades, benchmark testing, state standardized testing. I'm able to design lessons, I'm able to implement those lessons and evaluate their effectiveness.
I just go to the computer, I pull up that student's information, I have their grades, I have their attendance. I mean, it is just invaluable.
All of us at SchoolNet are extremely excited to be part of the Pearson family. The opportunity now to integrate with all of the incredible products and services that Pearson has under one roof really allows us to achieve our mission in a way I don't think we ever would have been able to otherwise.
Having a curriculum management system that can push that data down to the teachers has helped us achieve what we've achieved academically. We tested over 60,000 students, and when 90% of those kids are passing the test in reading, writing, and social studies, and over 80% of them are passing it in math and science, let me tell you, you're doing pretty good.
I think being surrounded by people who are passionate about education, who are deeply knowledgeable about this marketplace, who are committed to improving education around the world is extremely exciting for all of us and is going to lead to innovation and quality of innovation that we were not able to generate on our own.
SchoolNet is new to us, and we just started using it in the Peoria district this August. And so when I come before you again, I know that we'll have a video with our Peoria staff members that we can share with you and our students, and we'll have experience the same level of success as you just saw in this video with Texas. Each user will have a dashboard within the SchoolNet system when they log in. I want to share with you an overview of what students, teachers, administrators, and parents will be able to access and benefit from, starting with our students. As a district, we decide what parts of the student profile are visible to our students. For this school year, students will sign into their dashboard page and learn how to become familiar with the components of the information that will be there. Students will be able to view their student personal profile information, including attendance, schedules, and discipline records. They can also take assessments through the SchoolNet system and immediately view their results. They will have access to 3 years of historical data, and that will continue to build as they take assessments within the system. Students will be able to review assessment questions and the standards that they are aligned to. This will assist them in setting goals and utilizing the self-assessment feature, where they can evaluate their work by comparing their answers to a defined set of criteria. They may better be able to understand how well they met the goals for the assessment questions and think critically about their answers. Students will be able to access assignments and communicate with their teachers. Over the years, students will also be able to save and store their work to create and build a digital student portfolio. Yes, please.
Ms. Pazinski, could you go back to that screen?
Yes,
Does it say what grade level this student would be?
When they sign into their dashboard, it's their personal profile. So they're going to have access to everything that's aligned to their grade level and their content area, and all of the courses that they have been enrolled in.
The reason I ask is, well, are all grade levels, will all grade level students have access to this?
Yes, this is kindergarten through 12th grade.
So if I'm this is where I'm going with this.
Yes.
If I'm a kindergartner and I'm Bernice Clark, this looks a little intimidating to me. So,
Yes.
So is it modified to be accessible for every grade level, for
You
every
can
age level?
customize the dashboard page, but for the most part, it's similar in its components.
Okay.
So we'd have to educate the children and help them navigate through, the components of the system.
Okay. See what I'm saying, guys? See what I'm saying?
The interface,
Yeah.
right. I mean,
This is a little sophisticated for maybe a first grader or a kindergartner.
So that's going to be part of what the teachers have to do is teach them how to use it.
You'll be amazed. We have primary students, kindergarten, first, second grade students taking online assessments, currently. And so, students are getting used to that at an early age with the help and support of our teachers.
Just a tag team on that, I guess, more from the digital geek that I am, looking at interface design. Really, a kindergarten, first and second grade kid is not probably going to be studying too hard this particular interface. They'll sit with their parent or guardian or whoever, or teacher, and say, what does this really mean? Well, it means you're doing great, Johnny, or it means you need a little bit of help, Sandy. So I don't know, I mean, I get your point from an interface point of view, but I think ultimately, your first few years, and this is just guessing, I mean, my kids are, a little older now, but looking back then, this is something I would have sat down with them, because they would have gone, am I doing good or not? And that's just, from an outsider's perspective. So that's why I think they probably don't let you change the interface so dramatically age appropriate, because ultimately the data is what the data is. And when they get to the appropriate age, they can leave behind a teacher or a parent helping them. Like my kids in high school go and log in themselves on their own time and go, oh shoot, I better before dad finds out, I better turn in that assignment, that kind of thing.
I think as the students get older, they'll be accessing more of the components within the system as they progress through, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Yeah, I hope our first graders aren't stressing out about their standardized tests and academic records and benchmark tests, and, I want them to be
We won't let that
learning
happen.
and having fun in class, and,
Absolutely.
okay.
Is this available from their home computer as well for the parents?
Yes, it is, and I will talk a little bit more toward the end of the presentation about our 2-year implementation plan. Currently, parents do not have access to the system. That will be in our phase 2. So it's our teachers, we're starting with our teachers and our students, and we'll continue to turn on more of its components as we progress throughout the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Yes. Teachers will have access to their curriculum, their assessments, and data where they can tailor their classroom instruction. I will share with you the details and the access to all 3 of those. The instructional materials are the instruction tools that provide teachers with a means to analyze student performance, create and share lesson plans, schedule instruction, and access district curriculum and pacing calendars. Teachers can create a lesson plan with the new easy-to-use PUSD template. They can create student resources, they can assign them to students, and they can manage their assignment information. Teachers can access our adopted resources, like the newly adopted math textbooks, and they can build their lesson plans within the SchoolNet system. This year, teachers will learn how to use the basic search methods and student performance data. They'll learn how to locate their instructional materials, search for materials by standards, locate instructional support resources, and navigate their My Materials section. SchoolNet offers teachers a comprehensive assessment platform that we use for classroom formative assessments, instructional unit summative assessments, district-wide benchmarks, and summative management.
Excuse me, Kristen, what's
Yes.
the difference between formative assessment and a summative assessment, please?
Formative assessment are quick checks for understanding that can happen within the segment of teaching. Teachers can use our quick assessment builder. We have a very robust test item bank where teachers can build short cycle formatives to check understanding throughout their teaching segment. And the summative assessment is more for longer term. So if an instructional unit is 15 days, then we're giving an instructional unit assessment after 15 days of teaching. So the summative assessment will cover a multitude of standards as opposed to a shorter cycle, maybe within a 45-minute lesson or a 90-minute lesson.
Thank you.
So it's like the difference between a quiz and a test.
It could be, yes, absolutely. Formative assessment should be 3, 5, 7 questions, where our summative might be a little bit longer, covering more standards. Teachers will be able to create assessments collaboratively using the Pearson Formative Test Item Bank, which has over more than 26,000 Arizona college and career readiness items, innovative technology-enhanced items that prepare students for next-generation assessments, challenging performance tasks that allow students to demonstrate knowledge within a real-world context, authentic literature, as well as creative original passages and association with our web depth of knowledge levels. Teachers can have students take their assessments online through the platform, through learner response devices, plain paper, pre-printed scanner sheets, tablets, iPads, Android devices, and the data is real time, or it's uploaded from an external ScanIt system into the SchoolNet management platform for analyzing. The assessment system within SchoolNet offers the creation of the Express Test Builder capabilities, as I just described, linked assessments to lesson plans, item creation, and item banks aligned to standards, and a multitude of delivery, reporting, and analytic options. Teachers will be able to find student data so they know how their students are doing, and how to use the classroom and assessment management tools to target their instruction. Assessment results for SchoolNet benchmark and classroom tests are available immediately for analysis. Multi-measure student reporting delivers insights to educators and powers our PLC collaboration process. As an example of what teachers will be able to view and analyze, they can compare multiple measures for a list of students. They can drill down from a report cell and view those students in an analysis spreadsheet. For a benchmark or a classroom category test, they can view the number of students per score group by standards and drill down to be able to provide enrichment, intervention, and remediation. Teachers can then create an intervention plan for students who have triggered eligibility criteria by standard, and then provide students with assignments based upon those deficit skills. Now let's take a look at the dashboard SchoolNet provides for a parent.
I was going to ask if these were our pictures or their pictures, and now I know they're our pictures.
These are our pictures. And I promise we'll make a video like that first video. When enabled, parents can access SchoolNet to view assessment results and other data for their child, and they can act on it. And remember, this is not turned on this year. Data can help parents monitor student performance in the decision-making process, help change their communication relationship with the school, and leverage change. Parents can use SchoolNet to pinpoint where their students are, where they're struggling, and to work with the school to help access and address any issues. SchoolNet provides parents with a quick and easy view of their students' performance based on the most relevant data. Parents can access their child's report card grades, their attendance, their discipline records, and standards based upon assessment results to stay involved with their children's education and have a common set of information to reference when engaging with schools and teachers. Yes.
I'm so happy that you're doing only teachers this first year.
Yes.
Because the teachers are going to, in essence, become the mentors, and the teachers are training the trainers for the parents and students. Because you know how all the parents are going to call and they can't figure out how to access something or can't access their dashboard. They're not going to go online, look at the help file or the wiki. They're going to call the teacher and say, hey, I can't get little Johnny's information, what's going on. The teacher, in essence, has to be an interface and subject matter expert, because you know they're going to get the calls. No one has time to call our wonderful IMT department when I get 1,000 parents calling you. So that's so smart. Let the teachers become the experts, because unfortunately and fortunately, they're the subject matter experts going for the second year. That's great.
Absolutely. And we also are exposing students a little bit this year too, so students can also help their parents at home to log in. I'd like to have you take a look at the dashboard SchoolNet provides for a school or district level administrator. For aggregates of data across larger populations, administrators usually want it displayed or grouped according to the criteria they consider to be our key performance indicators. We call it the KPI dashboard. Currently, on our Peoria Unified School District KPI dashboard, we have student academic performance, student attendance and enrollment, and student discipline. Each tier of the dashboard represents a different performance indicator, be it a standardized test, a local benchmark, student attendance trends, chronic tardiness, or discipline incidents. The default view is an aggregate of each KPI, but with one-click access, an administrator can drill down by an indicator, a grade level, a student subgroup, a region, a school, a teacher, or even a cross-section, and eventually access the same individual student profile we see on a teacher dashboard. Our fundamental purpose in education is to see that all students learn. Are we crystal clear from class to class and course to course what students are supposed to learn? How do we know that they have learned it? What will we do when they don't learn it? And what will we do to enrich students who already know it? These are the 4 critical questions that drive the work for our teachers and administrators working in professional learning communities. When we collaborate, we will be asking ourselves and each other these 4 critical questions. SchoolNet, Peoria's integrated instructional management system, has many benefits to improving our access, our work productivity, our communication, our collaboration, and all of that to impact student learning and achievement. Now that I have explained the components of SchoolNet and the benefit to our students, teachers, and administrators, and of course our parents, I would like to take you on a small virtual tour of our Peoria Unified School District's SchoolNet dashboard. Keep in mind, as I'm taking you through just a couple of its components, this is very new. So some of the data that you are seeing, even though it's real-time data, students in our district are currently taking these assessments. So every day, more and more students are accessing the assessments, and the data is populating overnight. So you might not be seeing the final proficiency score of all of our students who have taken the test because we're still actively in a testing window. Okay? So when I log on to SchoolNet, this is my dashboard. So this is what I'm seeing here. And depending upon the users, you might see more components than others. For example, if you're a student, you might not see the same things that I see. One of the things I'd like to call to your attention is once teachers log on to the system, it's kind of their dashboard of one-stop shopping for everything that they might need. They have a resource section where they can access their curriculum, their textbooks, their newly adopted math resources, and some additional support tools like Step Up to Writing, Study Island, Problematic, our district's assessment plan. So all of these resources are live links out to tools that support teachers planning for their instruction. We were talking about the key performance indicators. This is what you are seeing here for data. For example, we're in the window right now for our math benchmark. And with every click, again, it will drill down, and you can see grade level data, cluster data, and I can keep on clicking on Cactus, and I can get individual teachers, and then individual students, and then information by standard or skill. I want to show you how easy it is to find an instructional unit for a teacher. So fewer clicks, less time for teachers. So if I were a 3rd grade teacher who teaches mathematics, I would go into my classroom, and I would go into my instructional materials, and I would pull up the subject of mathematics, and I would click on 3rd grade, and I would hit search, and my instructional units come up right here. There are 7 instructional units for 3rd grade math that a teacher will teach throughout the course of the year. The first instructional unit you see here is building concepts of multiplication, division, area. So I would click here. It's thinking. And up will come my instructional unit. So a teacher will utilize this to then build their individual lesson plan. They have all of their big ideas, their essential questions, their standards. All of their aligned standards are here, and they even have linked resources. So all of these tools right here are resources that a teacher can use to build out their lesson plan from this instructional unit. Many of these are our newly adopted math materials that have already been aligned to the curriculum. So just a couple of clicks and a teacher has the tools that they need for this instructional segment.
Back to that?
Yes, absolutely. Back to the unit?
Right, where you were looking at the different resources that were available?
Yes.
and you'll have to forgive me if this is redundant because I wasn't here the first time this was presented. So these resources, I'm sure, are excellent resources.
Yes.
But if I'm a first-year teacher, second-year teacher, and I've never taught these lessons before, I might not have the time to look through all of these resources. Do we have a way to project to the teachers, you know, you may want to look at some of these other resources over time, and you might find you like one more than another, or one is more effective than another. But is there a, like, this is your go-to? If you don't know and you don't have the time to evaluate yourself, these 20 resources, this is the one you can be successful with.
So we want to make it easier for all teachers,
Right.
especially new teachers who might not be as familiar with the curriculum. And so these resources are all aligned to a standard. So that's one way that they can search to make it easier to call out, you know, resources associated with our particular standard. But we always encourage teachers to go first directly to the resource that we have, and these are sort of in order. The ones that we have first are the resources that are aligned to our adopted text. So we first want to refer them to the text that we have adopted that's aligned to the curriculum. So for example, if they're going to teach this first standard, they would click on this first resource, and it's telling them exactly where to go. They're going to use the textbook, chapter 4, lesson 1 to 2, and then the page numbers. So the curriculum department, along with teacher leaders, every summer, and especially this summer with our newly adopted math materials, did all of the alignment for our teachers. So they don't have to spend an inordinate amount of time looking through all of their materials to find what might be most closely aligned. Then when they feel really comfortable and confident, and they've done that lesson a couple of times, they can peruse some of the other resources and add and build onto their lesson plan.
That's very good. That's exactly what I wanted.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. One other component that I wanted to show you was that we have now, through SchoolNet, a lesson planner. So teachers can go into classrooms, and then they can go into their lesson planner, and now they have a digital lesson plan tool. This is aligned to the teacher evaluation system. They can drag and drop standards, they can drag and drop resources, they can upload resources from external sites that they might have, they can use videos, web links, they can share this with their team members, which I know has been really very helpful in the PLC collaborative process, where if you're a grade level of 4 and you teach multiple content areas, you can divide up. You know, you're going to build a lesson plan for ELA, you'll build a lesson plan for math, and you can share them amongst your team members. As the implementation of SchoolNet goes on, we'll be able to share those across schools and across the district to build even lesson plans that will be model lesson plans for everybody to use.
Nice.
Okay? So we'll
Keep it
get
simple.
more robust.
And they'll save year after year, so the teacher that teaches 5th grade 2 years in a row can, you know, recycle the year and then just add on or modify where he or she thinks it's necessary.
Absolutely. There's a location in here on the main dashboard page that is My Materials. So teachers can save materials in their My Materials section, and they will be stored there for them. If they utilize the SchoolNet system to build formative assessments, they can also save their assessments and share them amongst their team members. So everything is stored here. Yes. Oops.
Oops.
Sorry. He did teach me how to do that beforehand. Thank you. So the implementation for the next 2 years, just to recap, year 1, we're in year 1 right now. We focus on placing curriculum in SchoolNet in the areas of ELA, math, physical education, and world language. We have provided extensive training in July to our administrators and also some lead teachers from each one of the campuses, who then trained all of the teachers on their staff on August 4th on that first day back to school. We also had a professional development day on August 8th, where we continue to educate and train all of our teachers. Throughout the course of the year, during professional development days district-wide, we will always have SchoolNet choices where teachers can come and learn. We just had SchoolNet 101. We had a couple of classes on building formative assessments, using the Express Test Builder. So we'll just continue to have professional development trainings throughout the course of the year. Introducing students to SchoolNet, like I mentioned earlier, just sort of slowly, teaching them how to use their dashboard page, looking at their attendance, looking at their schedule, their grades, some historical data that is stored there, 2 or 3-year data, and then utilizing the assessment platform for them to take assessments online. For year 2, we'll just continue to assess. We'll make improvements, we'll make changes, modifications, we'll take feedback from any stakeholder. All of our other curricular areas will be joining SchoolNet by August of 17-18. So I mentioned ELA, math, PE, and world language, the curriculum is in there right now. That doesn't mean a teacher who teaches social studies cannot use SchoolNet just because their curriculum is not there. They can use the lesson planner, they can use their pacing guide there, they can use the resources that are there, they can build assessments that are there. It's just that their instructional units are not quite there yet. We've had to slowly move over our curriculum from the platform that we were using to SchoolNet. So by August of 17-18, we'll have CTE in there, we'll have arts in there, we'll have science, we'll have social studies, all of our other content areas will be fully utilizing SchoolNet for our curriculum by the beginning of next year. We'll have additional professional learning opportunities, continue to introduce students to SchoolNet, have them do some goal setting in there, communicate with their teachers, and start to build a digital portfolio. And we'll also continue to discuss assessments and what assessments we will have in SchoolNet for access for teachers and students. And then we'll go ahead and introduce our parents to SchoolNet for 17-18. Oops. And in closing, SchoolNet brings together proven systems to personalize learning and improve teacher effectiveness. And we are very excited about the endless possibilities we have with the system in Peoria Unified. Being able to offer a connective digital spine for learning is a focus for Peoria with our SchoolNet system. And it has already proven to have shared our passion, and together we can make that spine more flexible and powerful for our schools, our teachers, our students, and our parents. So we want to thank you as a governing board for supporting the purchase of SchoolNet. We look forward to expanding opportunities for everybody to engage with it. And we already have some testimonials from teachers that they are really enjoying the functionality of the SchoolNet system. So I'll stand for any other questions that you might have this evening.
Good. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'll start to my left, Mrs. Doan.
I do have a question. Where it says that students will have access to teachers, could you explain how that works? And if the teachers, just explain that, and I'll see if I have any more questions.
Absolutely. So within the SchoolNet system, a teacher can communicate with a student in various ways. They can push out assignments to students individually, which would allow for differentiation. You know, maybe after looking at data, you see a certain group of student population within your math class that needs a particular assignment. So a teacher will push out an assignment to 5, 6, 7 students. There will be a place within the system where students can set some goals, and a teacher will be able to view that and respond to the student. There will be places within the system perhaps where a student is responding to a prompt with a writing sample, and then the teacher is responding to the student, where the student might be self-reflecting. So there'll be a pathway between the teacher and the student for a means of communication, educationally, with data and those types of things.
So it'll be more like almost kind of texting in a way, some of it, and which kids really understand today.
Yeah, you can think of it like that.
And they'd rather text you than talk to you, so maybe this will be a good thing. And is there going to be any kind of monitoring to see how well the teachers do communicate with the students, and if they get back to them in a timely fashion and stuff like that?
You know, there's a lot of ways within the system that we can turn on different levels of permission. You know, I'll give you an example, sort of outside of what you're asking, but similar, where if a group of teachers creates a lesson plan, and before they are able to share it with others, perhaps it goes through their administration for viewing and approval before it gets pushed out. So there'll be a certain level of access, you know, amongst the school, so even principals can monitor the communication between teachers and students. So yes, there's functionality like that, and some of it I don't think we even know right now.
Right.
So, you know, we're learning what SchoolNet really can do for us and all of its components.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, please. I'm happy to hear you have good testimonials. It seems good to me, but I haven't been in the classroom a long, long time. So my question is, what methods are you utilizing to continually ask for feedback? And have there been elements of feedback that have changed what you started with in any significant ways?
Great question, Mrs. Knecht. So we have always had on our curriculum a feedback button. And we are currently working on finding the feedback button or the survey platform within SchoolNet for teachers to provide immediate you know, feedback and information that we then can look at daily to make, you know, instructional changes or decisions that way. We also have a support person in our department. There's a direct link or access to this staff member. So teachers are continuously utilizing the staff member for questions, comments, feedback, input.
And is that on the platform or on the curriculum items themselves? Or both?
Both.
Okay.
When you go to the portal to sign on to SchoolNet, right beneath the icon, there's a direct link to that staff member. And they can type in all of their information there. Also within the system is where we're looking to put the feedback for each instructional unit. So we can make modifications as a curriculum team. We usually do that in the summer. We make those changes after teaching segments, so we're not interrupting in the middle. Professional development days, we have a survey. We seek feedback that way. A lot of our staff members email content coaches or site coaches, or they access their administration for feedback. So we'll take anything that might come to us. We have already made some modifications to the platform based upon feedback we've received, and we'll continue to do that throughout the year.
Yeah, last time we were speaking about this, we talked a little bit about one of my key focal areas was around the early detection of a student falling behind in a certain category or whatever. Just for all of our sakes, could you kind of refresh all of us, and especially me, like if a student is falling behind in a certain category, you said there are certain triggers that are in place at a certain level. How far behind do they have to be before it actually triggers intervention or something of that nature?
One of the beautiful components of SchoolNet is when a student takes an assessment. I'll just use today, for example, because I was in there looking at some of the data that was there today in real time. Students are taking our blueprint assessment right now, so a pretest for mathematics. And the teacher can immediately see the data. They can see the data by the child, by their class. They can see the data by different proficiency levels. They can see the data by standard. And they can automatically start to plan out intervention or enrichment. You know, after teaching a segment, you know, what might they need to reteach? How can they provide small groups? How can they provide enrichment to a student that already knows it? So they're able to use that information immediately. They can also use that data in their PLC grade level process. And they can start to talk amongst themselves. Maybe one teacher's students scored higher on a particular standard than another teacher. So they have real transparent conversations about what might you have done differently than me in the classroom? What method did you use to teach this skill or this concept that I might try? Can I come into your classroom and view how, your instruction and your strategy? So a lot of that is happening right away. The data is there immediately if taken online through the SchoolNet system.
How far, I mean, I guess I'm driving more towards a, in certain situations today, once a student falls behind or hits certain criteria, an IEP is put in place. There was another acronym used in SchoolNet. Is that replacing the IEP? Because we can individualize the learning plans. I think it's ILP, it was used here, but are we replacing the IEP with this, and the ILP now is more tailored towards that, or?
No, two very separate things, the IEP process, and we're talking about an individual learning plan for a teacher to just
Okay.
create that within their classroom. And so they would be really diagnosing the needs of the individual student and planning for the intervention that way.
Okay.
The IEP process is separate from the ILP within a SchoolNet system or planning and preparation for a teacher.
And then, and I know that I asked this question the last time, and it's a little unfair question, but great system, love it. How much time, I know it's still early, but do we have any idea of how much time this is going to be saving our teachers, trying to get them back to more of a normal workload of their day?
I don't want to speak for the teachers. I mean, it would be great to get their specific words, but I've spoken to teachers. I've watched teachers use the system. I've seen the trainings. I've heard positive testimonials, and I think it's saving them a significant amount of time. It's, when they come to work, if they log on to SchoolNet and they log on to Synergy, they're set because it's fewer clicks. It's all right there for them. They have their lesson plans stored there. They have their data stored there. They can view attendance there. I think it's going to save them a significant amount of time if they use it the way it's intended to be used. So.
And are they required to use it, or at some point they're going to be required to use it, or?
Well, they're required to teach our curriculum, and so
Right.
they have to use it in order to access the curriculum. Okay. So, yes, it's a system that we're all using together as a team.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a few quick questions, actually, to my digital brothers. Mr. John Gay, our IMT director, is this a hosted platform, a hosted server that we're hosting ourselves, or is this strictly a cloud-based system that is being hosted somewhere else?
It's hosted by Pearson, and so we just access it through the internet on their servers.
Do they have, or did we sign an agreement with them? Because in some of the PTAC meetings, Peoria Technology Advisory Committee meetings, we talked about, security, student data, privacy, all that kind of stuff, and there's always fear of that digital data being shared back and forth across networks into a cloud platform. We even had Microsoft with us last time saying that, we love you guys, but we're also concerned about data being held somewhere else. Pearson's obviously a large company. Is there any agreement in place to protect that data?
Yes, President Bullock and members of the board, when we went through the RFP process, excuse me, when we went through the RFP process, part of the evaluation was looking at what they provided in terms of assurance with regard to privacy and security protection, and Pearson is excellent in that regard. So we didn't feel we need to have an additional agreement beyond what was in the contract itself.
Okay, so we feel good about that.
Yes.
Because, you and I and others, we get very nervous with digital security and digital
Right.
data because security is an illusion in the
Exactly.
digital world, as we know.
They talked a lot about that yesterday,
bet.
actually.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a scary new frontier, but a lot of opportunity. Second question is, of course, with a cloud-based platform, we're going to be hitting our bandwidth tremendously. We had talked about also, in last year at least, about upping our bandwidth, providing an optical type of situation where we get a much better throughput back and forth, so we're not draining our network when everybody hops on this at 7:40 a.m. every morning. What has come since then, or do we have any concerns left after our last upgrade?
Well, President Bullock and members of the board and Dr. Stifler, we've been talking about that just in the last day or two.
About an hour and a half ago.
Exactly. We're actually in very good shape at this point. We have a monitoring system, as you would imagine, where we look at how much of our bandwidth is being used at any point in time. Thus far in the school year, we're well within the capacity that we have. We do know that as the year progresses and we get closer to the winter break, it tends to build up to a great extent. We've actually positioned equipment, positioned everything so that as that grows, we're ready to just pull the trigger in a very short notice to increase the amount of bandwidth we have to our internet service provider. Very easy to do, and we expect to do that this year. We just want to wait for the right time so we're not paying for it unnecessarily. Within the district's wide area network, we have plenty of bandwidth. As you know, we own our wide area network ourselves, so we're not paying a monthly fee to anybody, and we rarely exceed 10-15% of capacity.
Right, that's good, because one way to really turn everybody off from an amazing digital system is make it slow. How many times we get frustrated at home when we try to access email, access a website or YouTube video, and you can hear your neighbors screaming, you know Cox is down in your neighborhood. So and I just want to bring that up also, because that's going to be, even though I know we're in good hands, it's something that we need to have out, and I want to make sure the public understands that that's also privacy and student data is a primary concern, and making it easily accessible and always quick and accessible is also a concern besides the curriculum part of it, because there's more than just more than just a curriculum component when you're talking about a digital access device. So I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot. And my last question, and I can't believe I'm asking this because I work in the digital world by day. Technology is obviously a wonderful tool. What discussions have come up? Where will we be in 5 years from the fact of teachers create their magic between the teacher and the student, and the technology, and oh, here we go. The technology is a little tool that can enter in every once in a while. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but what concerns have come up with this becoming a takeover, and maybe that's just maybe it's a public perception, public meaning our community, a takeover and possibly supplanting that wonderful magic that happens between a teacher and a student unrelated to technology?
President Bullock?
Yes.
May I take that one?
I would love you to.
That's not going to happen. How about that? We'll start there. As we're helping our public understand what this is, as the teacher's making the magic happen, she is going to this cabinet, to this cupboard, to this, to what do I have, this book that's over here and that. And so this is pulling the resources for the teacher who still has complete autonomy on to decide what to do. This is a filing cabinet on steroids where we're not going to lose anything. This isn't telling a teacher what to do. This isn't replacing a teacher in any way. Teachers, and this has been part of my roadshow as I've been going to schools, teachers my whole career, and certainly much before that, have been chasing this holy grail of what we call differentiation. We have 30 or 35, 25, whatever kids we have in our class, and everybody's not in exactly the same spot. Back to Mr. Jonigan's point, this gives us real-time data as long as we load it in. It's not in there if we don't put it in there, of course. I know you know that very well. For teachers to make decisions and not wait for the district office to send it back, or the State Department of Education to send it back, or for me to check it out for the library and send it through the mail. It allows teachers to have access to the things that they say they need right away. On to some of those other points, what comes 5 years comes this is not that, but this is a platform to go there with prescriptive and adaptive curriculum materials. So prescriptive and adaptive materials look like all within the same system for reading or math to teach kids a very quick pre-assessment that might even feel like a game to know where we are, so that because you're smarter than me, you're getting something different than I am, and the teacher doesn't have to spend the time to do that. It's automatically doing that. This system is not that yet. It has the ability to interface with those systems, for us to load those kind of systems here. This again is more the big smart filing cabinet, like the Mary Poppins bag of all the stuff the teacher needs to make it go. It doesn't go though without teacher expertise and teacher passion and teacher love. This in no way. It doesn't work without those things. It doesn't ever seek to subvert those critical elements. And what happens 5 years out, 6 years out? That teachers have access to tools, the very best tools that we can provide for them, so that they can, well, I would even go further, that let's let technology teach the really low-level skills and save teacher time and save teacher expertise for those critical things, for application and that. And then when kids have that, let's turn them loose on really cool, powerful tools, as I've heard some people say, about real-world kind of skills and cooperative learning, collaborative learning, working together. So that's what, you keep hearing that word, personalized learning, that's what that looks like. But we have to get the tools for teachers. And Kristen, I think, Ms. Pasinski did a great job, but I want to say there is zero expectation right now that our teachers are expert in this. I want to say that again, there is zero expectation that our teachers are expert in this. And I don't know if I've said this or not. There is zero expectation that our teachers that they're expert in this. But there's room for some of them to Zoom, and we're all going to move together. And so the first step is we all are going to do math, and everybody is encouraged to do ELA, English Language Arts. And we're putting the other pieces in as we can. And if you listen to teachers, and I know you do, some will say, we need to go faster. And you're going to hear from others who are going to say, we need to go slower. And what I'm going to tell you is where we're holding people accountable is you have to try. You're not allowed to say no.
Right.
You don't have to be perfect. This is going to take a couple of years to come up to speed. Maybe you won't be the first one on your team to get it, but your other team member will get it, and they'll help you along. Cindy Moss comes in, I don't know, I come in early, she's here before, and she's answering those calls from teachers on how to log in. Our PD department's doing that. We have expert teachers who are loading and feeding that and reporting out. We're going to get better fast. And so, especially from your world, Mr. Bullock, that world of iteration, pace is going to pick up on improvement, on capitalizing and building on what we're going to do. But this is about getting information to teachers. This isn't about teaching itself. But the next piece that comes, in my mind, I love that, the next piece that comes are those powerful tools to take over the low-level teaching to free teachers up. That would be at least my vision that I'm trying to bring to bear.
No, it makes sense. I appreciate that explanation. And the reason I asked that question is because about a year ago when we first started going down this path and talking about it before you were here, Dr. Stifler, that was the number one question I heard from teachers. A lot of them were friends of mine. I haven't lived up in this area for a long time. A lot of friends are teachers who live up by where I live up, and so they're always happy to give me their opinions. And the number one concern was, how will this interface with, and I'm using my term, the magic I create in the classroom? I appreciate access to data. I appreciate real-time information. I appreciate how I compare to my cohorts as well as my students to their cohorts. But I want to make sure that this new system does not supplant my magic. And again, I'm paraphrasing probably 20 different teachers I talked to when these rumblings of this was happening. So that's what I want to make sure that, and I know you know that, but that was a concern a year ago. And of course, change is great and change is hard. And I'm glad that it is a multi-year program. And I'm glad that teachers are being trained first, because as I mentioned before, they're the subject matter experts. So the fact that that alleviates a large concern that I heard not even a year ago is encouraging. So I appreciate that. Thank you. So any other questions, comments?
Yeah,
Oh, Ms. Doan?
how big is a team? You said your team, their team, or whatever. How big is a team of teachers?
There you go.
What's their team?
In my eyes, a team could be 2, 3, 4. I was referring to a grade level team of 3 or 4 or 5. But then we have team, a curriculum team. It could be 16 people, working on curriculum together. We had probably, don't quote me on this exact number, but 14 different teams of curriculum and assessment writers this summer working on loading information into SchoolNet. So depending upon the purpose of the team, the makeup of the team.
Do teachers make their own teams? Like we're all teaching the same subject, grade level or whatever like this. Do they make their own teams in there? Would you call that a team?
That's, a wonderful question. So at elementary school, you could have a 3rd grade team, but you could also have a math team that gets together just to talk about math. At the high school, you could have Algebra 1 teachers as a team. You could have social studies teachers as a team. So sometimes we align ourselves with grade level teams, sometimes content, sometimes cluster.
So they're probably going to be a member of several teams.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Teams of teams.
Yeah.
Of teams.
There we go.
Better known as a gaggle of teachers. There we go. All right, thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate your time. We look forward to updates as things progress and training unfolds, so.
Absolutely, thank you.
Major switch in our district. We're excited about it. All right, next item on the agenda is number 9, discussion and possible action on proposed amendments to Arizona School Board Association bylaws. Dr. Stifler, take it away, sir.
President Bullock, members of the board. Just turn that on. President Bullock, members of the board, ASBA works for you all. ASBA is recommending these bylaws, these amendments, these updates to how ASBA does business to serve school boards across Arizona and actually into New Mexico as well. I believe, if I'm advising you here, there is very little controversy. I'm aware of zero controversy about these. But ASBA, to its credit, is asking, are you okay with these? And if you have feedback like that they shouldn't do these after you've reviewed them, then we would forward that. And of course, we are well served because the president of ASBA is sitting in between you and me, sir.
Thank you. And I actually was going to, after you were finished, asked our esteemed president of ASBA for maybe a little bit of the genesis, a little quick, 1-minute overview of the genesis of this piece of paper.
I'd be happy to. Dr. Stifler is correct. There are no controversies with the current bylaws of ASBA that are out there. As you know, the bylaws are like the constitution of the nonprofit organization. This is our annual opportunity, if there were any additions or modifications to existing bylaws, that we could say that we wanted to make changes and submit them. And then bylaw changes are voted on electronically. But this would be the first step in that if we had any changes or additions to the existing bylaws.
Thank you very much. This is an action item. We'll be voting on it. So board members, any questions for Dr. Stifler or Ms. Connect? Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's possible action.
Right. So only if some, and I think this is the kind of thing that if we had had an issue, we might have said, hey, we need to change the bylaws. But to my knowledge, we as a board have not had an issue with any of the existing bylaws or wanted to propose any new ones. Is that correct?
A couple fights broke out last year, but I think this year we're pretty good.
Yeah, I think we're good. So we're okay with it. So I'm thinking there's no
Mr. John
motion.
again? All right, shall we move on? Thank you, Mrs. McCarty, for that point of clarification, and we shall move on to item number 10. Always one of our favorite parts, especially January through May. Not that this month is any different, of course, but
Mr. Bullock, can I just go back again?
I would love to.
Now, just so you know, other school boards are doing this exact same thing during this month. Some school boards may come up with additions or modifications, and if they do, we will have an opportunity as a board to have one vote to weigh in on those changes. Okay, I'm done now.
No, we appreciate the point of clarification. All right, next item, number 10, report and discussion on local, state, and federal legislative issues and activities. Dr. Stifler, anything for us this evening?
A little bit, President Bullock, a little bit. Of course, the primary season has ended here in Arizona, and primary season, what that means is largely we know what the makeup of the legislature is going to be, if I'm just speaking straight up, as Arizona districts don't tend to be very competitive. And so the reason I point that out right now is because now is the time when people are just beginning to position themselves for what bills they're going to drop in the hopper, what bills they're going to be able to walk, those sorts of things. But a dynamic in my dirty crystal ball that I'm seeing is that Governor Ducey has put himself into that legislative system to a greater degree than many other governors have before. And that so where people would shop ideas with legislators previously, what I'm seeing, and I certainly can't see everything, is people are shopping their ideas with Governor Ducey first. So that what will Governor Ducey get behind, and to see what will go. So what kinds of things regarding education are happening? Well, the biggest things that are happening right now are what's the state accountability system going to be, and how is Arizona going to implement ESSA? And there isn't one entity that's in charge of that. Okay, the governor has claimed some space. The legislature has passed laws that are going to make a difference. The Department of Education has responsibility, but most of the decision-making authority comes from the State Board of Education. So one piece of the law conference that's happening is that many of those decision makers are there. The governor's not there, but he has people there, but other people are there, and so you can hear the ideas that are being talked about. So what seems to be coming to be in Darwin's crystal ball? Well, one, the Department of Education last night released, and I haven't memorized it yet, it's 70 pages long, their draft plan for what ESSA will look like in Arizona. But Superintendent Douglas, for the last 6 months or so, has been, and on the website anyone could see that, has been asking for feedback from Arizonans about what the plan should be. That has been taken into account. She has clear ideas about how she thinks it should be, and so the plan as it's written looks like a mirror of what she would like the world to be like Arizona. I don't mean any detrimental there, but it has her phraseology matched up to a bridge of what the feds say ESSA needs to be. And it's a one-to-one alignment. And it seems to be based in again, I have not memorized this yet, but it seems to be based on local governance. Like, we don't want to tell you what to do. To the degree that we're allowed to, we're going to let local LEAs, districts, charters, decide multiple things, including how Title I funding, how Title I funds are spent, how kids are tested for high-stakes testing, the A through F label. Mr. Kegel and I, 2 days ago, met with senior leadership at the Department of Education, and they briefed us about what was going to be in the plan to get our ideas. It seems to be that the long-term plan is to go much beyond an A through F and to put out more information so that parents and others have more information to decide where best to put their schools, and to have a less one-size-fits-all model. That sounds really vague. So what's going to happen? I think there's going to be a menu of tests. We won't have to give the Arizona merit. We will be allowed to give other tests. But Superintendent Douglas is one vote, I believe, of 14 to decide that. She doesn't get to decide that on her own. That happens at the State Board of Education. But of course, the governor decides who's at the State Board of Education. And the State Board of Education and the governor and the Department of Education have to navigate with the laws that Arizona has put in place. For instance, how we teach kids English is different than any other state. So that has to, but the feds have expectations that we address that in certain ways. This is way too long a report, but this is the kind of thing I get excited about. So what's happening in the next 2 months is we're going to know what the next 5 or 6 years are going to look like. That they're going to set the table, they're going to set the bar for what we're going to be held accountable to. And I'm excited, like that I have never been in my administrative career about this kind of a thing, that the responsibility for how to do this is going to come back home. Now, I am a little bit nervous on that because I have heard the Arizona legislature say, no, we're home, not you. So I don't know where that's finally going to do, but this is available on the Arizona Department of Education website. It became available last night. It's a template from the feds that's been filled out with some appendices. It says we're going to hire the best teachers we can. It says we're going to follow the laws. It says we are opting for the maximum discretion possible. And Arizona, Mr. Kegel and I heard, Arizona has a reason to go fast because in the Every Student Succeeds Act, in its implementation, was it 7 states? Is that what we heard? That 7 states will be granted more autonomy than other states. So there's a race to go first, to be the labs for what could be. And then more rules will follow after. So Arizona, being a state that really wants to be all the way in control, is running faster for federal compliance than you usually see Arizona do, is what I would say. That's probably more complete than you wanted, sir, but that's where we are regarding ESSA.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ms. Connect.
Yeah, I would just add, it is on the website, along with a link. She is still soliciting input
Yes.
from the public. And I think that closes at the end of the month.
Actually, it's going to be, it does, this is only, very clear, this is only the first iteration, the first draft. There's
Right.
probably going to be 2 more drafts, so it's a place to start conversation.
Yeah, okay. But the public is welcome to read it and offer input.
And on a different webpage, Arizona has revised a draft of its standards for ELA, and is asking, and some of our teachers worked on that, as I reported previously, and the state is seeking input from all Arizonans, and Superintendent Douglas has been clear, all Arizonans on the appropriateness of those. So there are 2 opportunities for our community to comment upon our destiny.
Thank you very much. You know, the one thing that I will hold out my hope for and my final judgment is that the very, very interesting intersection of local control and budget.
Yes, sir.
Because you can say you have all the local control you want,
Right.
but legislatively, it may not be funded. Or the legislature may say, we want the control, okay, fine, and you will get budget. Or choice 3, both. They'll take control,
Yes, sir.
and you won't get the budget.
Yes, sir.
So I am cautiously optimistic about your enthusiasm, but I will wait until about May 1st to see what really happens, but you know what I'm talking about.
I'll take that as advice, sir. Seldom am I a cheerleader for the Arizona Department of Education. So
Excellent.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
that
sir.
advice, sir.
All right, next item on the agenda is our request for agenda items for future governing board meetings. I'll start with Mr. John again and work our way over. Anything, sir? Not this week. Okay, Ms. Connect?
No, sir.
Mrs. Zone? Mr. Bullock? No. Next item, number 12, consideration of approval of the consent agenda. Board members, do you want to pull any reports for further analysis or attention this time? No?
Nope.
Okay. Let's go ahead and, this is an action item. It requires a motion and a second to bring the consent agenda to a vote. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Bullock, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Great, a second.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved by Mrs. Connect, seconded by Mrs. Doan. This is an action item. Please cast your votes. Or vote. Excellent. 4-2, one absent. All right, next item on the agenda. Couple reports. I'll continue to say this until my last day on the board. These are all available on our website and in the board packet, which is a public document. I strongly encourage you, when you have a few minutes, to take a look at these reports. They're simple PDF documents. This particular one is very interesting because we all have a school, as much as we all love PUSD, we all have a school or 2 that are near and dear to our heart. Maybe our kids go there, or grandkids go there, or that's the neighborhood school. This will tell you what's being done at your local school. New air condition, new fence, repairs, new paint. It's always nice to see the improvements being done where our kids are attending. Thank you. Next one, report on upcoming meetings and events. We'll pop this open real quick. A couple of things to note to put on your calendar if you have available time. First one on the agenda, or first one on the item is September 14th, which will be next week, the Parent Organization President's Dinner at Zuni Hills. If you have a chance to attend, it's very neat to see. Not only do the students usually prepare and serve the food, that's fun to see, but all of the parents' organizations leaders are there. It's always a great conversation about just what Dr. Stifler was talking about gathering input to try and find ways to help PUSD be more successful from our most involved parties, all of our parents. Next item on the agenda is our draft agenda for our next board meeting, which is in 2 weeks from tonight, September 22nd. Take a quick look at that. We do have a 4 o'clock meet time for board members, and then 5 o'clock for our regular public session. Great. And we have on there the presentation on student athletic safety processes and procedures. Very good. Thank you for bringing that up. Next item on the agenda is a board member opportunity to readdress agenda items. Does anybody want to go back in time, any board members, and bring anything up for further discussion? This is our Control-Alt-Delete time. Okay, great. And with, of course, sadness and reservation, the last item, it's time to go home potentially if it's a 4-0 vote. Do we have a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
Same ladies moved and seconded, so we will cast this to a vote. And this is always kind of tense. Passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We appreciate your time, and we will see you in 2 weeks.